A grown man reached for a literal hammer to hit another grown man during a King of the Ring match, and somehow that's not even the wildest part of this story. Let's talk about what went down at the CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore, because Oba Femi versus Dominik Mysterio in the King of the Ring semifinal was less of a wrestling match and more of a Judgment Day group project gone horribly wrong. And by horribly wrong, I mean wrong for Dominik, because Oba Femi treated that ring like a buffet, and everyone in the Judgment Day was on the menu that night. Here's the thing about Dom that we all know deep in our wrestling souls. This man does not respect the sanctity of the bell just rang. Dominik rolled right out of that ring the second the match started, because why would Dirty Dom ever stand flat-footed in front of a 6'5", 254-pound man who looks like he was built in a WWE lab specifically to end people's title reigns? So instead, Dom goes for the cheap baseball slide, tries to get Femi's legs out from under him before Femi even gets to set his feet. Classic Dom. Smart Dom. Cowardly Dom. All the Doms we know and love to hate. Except Oba Femi did the thing Oba Femi does, which is simply not care about anyone's clever little plan. He scoops Dominik up and throws him over the entire commentary table. Not into it, over it, like Dom was a frisbee and the announce desk was just an obstacle in the way of Femi's day. I have to imagine Joe Tessitore and Corey Graves got a workout of their own, just trying to keep their headsets on while a grown man went sailing past them mid-sentence. And this is where it gets good, because Judgment Day doesn't know how to leave well enough alone. JD McDonough decides now's the time to get involved, sneaking around ringside trying to get a cheap shot in on Femi while the referee's distracted. Didn't work. Femi turns around, sees him coming, and basically tells him to get out of his house. JD gets sent packing before he can do any real damage, looking like a guy who forgot his own plan halfway through executing it. If you're new here and you actually enjoy this kind of chaotic Monday night nonsense, do me a favor and hit subscribe and ring that bell, because we break down moments exactly like this all the time, and you really don't want to miss the next one. So now you'd think Judgment Day would take the hint, right? 2 strikes, maybe sit this one out, let Dom fight his own battle for once. Nope. The Iron Ace, also known as JD again, because apparently this man does not learn from his own mistakes, tries his luck a second time at ringside. Femi rocks him with a shot and knocks him clean off the apron like he was swatting a fly off a picnic table. At this point, I'm convinced Femi was getting more workout reps in from fighting off Judgment Day interference than he was from actually wrestling Dominik in the ring. But here's the part that makes this whole match legitimately unhinged. Dominik goes for the timekeeper's hammer, the actual hammer, the one that's supposed to ring the bell, not crack skulls open at ringside. This is a man who has officially run out of ideas and decided blunt force trauma with event equipment was plan A now. And it's not exactly his first rodeo with this move either, because Dominik has built himself a quiet little reputation over the years for treating that small table at ringside like his personal weapons rack the moment a match stops going his way.
Femi sees it coming, because of course he does. The man has been getting ambushed all night and has apparently developed peripheral vision in the back of his head from all the practice. He shuts that down too, putting both Dom and his Judgment Day back up flat on the mat, and then unloads with a series of running uppercuts that legitimately looked like they could rearrange dental records. 2 Judgment Day members, both grounded, courtesy of a guy who is technically just supposed to be focused on winning a wrestling match, and instead spent half the night doing unpaid security work for WWE. What's wild here is just how much WWE production chose to actually show versus how much chaos was happening at ringside the entire match. Every time the cameras cut away for a crowd reaction shot or a quick replay, there's a real chance somebody from Judgment Day was repositioning for another attempt off-screen. This stable does not believe in fair fights. They believe in volume. Just keep throwing bodies at Femi until something eventually sticks. Spoiler alert, nothing stuck. The man tossed Dominik over a table, blocked 2 separate run-in attempts, dodged a literal hammer attack, and still had enough gas left in the tank to win the match clean and move on in the bracket like none of it even fazed him. And that's genuinely the story here. This wasn't really Femi versus Dominik. This was Femi versus the entire available Judgment Day roster that happened to be working that night, and Femi went something like 4 for 4. Dom couldn't out-wrestle him, couldn't out-cheat him, couldn't even out-hammer him, and that's saying something, because swinging a hammer at someone's head is about as low as you can go in this business, short of full-on weaponizing a steel chair. This win puts Femi 1 match away from the King of the Ring crown, and he's currently waiting to find out whether he's facing Javon Evans or Jey Uso for the right to wear it. But more importantly, Femi closed out the night doing exactly what Femi does best, which is talking like a man who's already measured himself against the scariest names the company has to offer. He's out here saying he questions whether Brock Lesnar is even fully human, calling himself a mountain that simply cannot be conquered, and telling the entire locker room flat out that when this is all said and done, he's going to be king, while guys like Dominik get remembered as nothing more than the man who ran from Oba Femi. Look, say what you want about the guy's mic work still rounding into form, but after a night where he single-handedly fought off 3 separate Judgment Day attacks and still walked away looking like the most dominant person backstage by a wide margin, the confidence is earned at this point. Dom came in with numbers on his side and a literal hammer in his hand, and still left with absolutely nothing to show for it. That's not just a wrestling loss for Judgment Day. That's an entire faction getting publicly humbled in real time on national television.
It's also worth pointing out the bigger picture forming here, because this isn't an isolated incident with these two. Just a week earlier on Raw, Dominik and JD McDonough were already trying these exact same tricks on Femi, interrupting him and attempting sneak attacks before this rematch even happened. So this Baltimore beatdown wasn't some one-off fluke. It was the second time in recent memory that Judgment Day tried to gang up on Femi and got sent home with nothing to show for the effort either time. At what point does this stable sit down and reconsider the strategy of throwing the same plan at the same guy and expecting a different result? If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming up next in this King of the Ring storyline, because something tells me Judgment Day is nowhere near done trying their luck against this guy.